You could be completely clear in your energy field and in a high vibration in your energy field in this lifetime. But let's say you have some of these bound past lifetimes. Let's say you have past lifetimes that you haven't dealt with yet that are still lodged in your energy field. Those things are going to have an effect on your energy field as a whole. So you may not be consciously aware of these shadows that are still lurking from the past, but your energy field still keeps that recording of whatever has happened, and they are still there, and that is what other people are sort of responding to. Welcome to the Akashic Recordings. My name is Annette. I'm an Akashic conduit, channel, and spiritual guidance coach. What you will be hearing today is a real session with one of my clients. All the names have been changed for privacy, and of course, with their permission, we are privileged to hear these beautiful stories to allow us a small glimpse into the Akashic Records. If you would like to book a session with me and be part of the podcast, please feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. When you book your session, just make sure to check the box that you would be interested in having your session utilized for the podcast. For those of you who really wanted to sign up for Soul Discovery Workshop, I have great news for you. You can head to my website, and on the homepage, if you go to the little box that describes Soul Discovery Workshop, there is a button there that says sign up for the wait list. So if you want to be in the know and want to be the very first one to sign up for the next session of Soul Discovery Workshop online, feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. Go to that homepage, click sign up for the wait list, and send your email, phone number, as well as your first and last name. And I will make sure you get that registration email as soon as the next course is ready to launch. In addition, you will get a discount code for the early bird sign up. So if you are interested, head over there now. We discover all kinds of new things in this particular session with Cheyenne. The first thing that comes up is that all of her chakras were closed and blocked. And this was by design. This was something her soul had done in order to protect herself. So we go through the process of figuring out why she had closed all of her chakras and how we can start helping her to open them up so she can access more of her intuition. The second thing that came up was something that I had also never seen, which was she has a relationship with a particular person who she feels this immense draw to, almost similar to a twin flame. And as it turns out, it was a completely different scenario, something that is so unique that I have never seen, but also functions similarly to twin flames in the sense that their souls have intertwined and been through so much together that they always feel this energetic pull. So we talk about labels. We talk about when we get hung up on labels and why that can be detrimental. We talk about our connection to each other and what unconditional love means, as well as is there a possibility for distorted unconditional love, and what does that mean? And is there a difference between that and codependency? And during the discussion portion, I do talk a little bit about how your frequency is everything. And sometimes if you are attracting things in the shadow side, what that can mean for you. So tell me, what would you like to cover today? Have you given that some thought?
Yes, I would like to talk about why do I struggle with relationships, mostly romantic relationships. And then I want to include with that, does my twin flame come into play with that? I've been married technically 3 times, but basically 4 times. It's kind of messy, but and one of those times was a brief year, and that was with who I believe is my twin flame, but we recently divorced. But we're still obviously in each other's lives because you know how that goes.
Sure do. Yeah.
And then I would like my hopefully connect with my sister or kind of get some not closure, but some clarification that she's okay. She died about 2 years ago from cirrhosis. She was younger. She was only 38 years old, and
Mm,
it was really traumatic.
mm-hmm.
Sorry. So I don't know if she. Ugh, I don't know if that was like something she picked and chose for her life, or if it was an exit point because she was
Mm-hmm.
obviously a struggling addict. Those are the two major things.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a brief meditation and we're going to get nice and grounded into the energy. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a chakra scan for you to see where you might be having some blockages as it pertains to any past lives, maybe any issues going on in your current life. And
Okay.
then we're going to ask the guides to sort of guide us as to where we're going to go first. Okay?
Perfect.
Okay, so this is something that is new that I've never heard before. Okay, so I'm hearing there's nothing to see here, and your chakras have been stripped of all of their power. Okay, is this having to do with a past life? It is. Okay, so is this having to do with anything in her current life? It is as well. So are we going to see the same thing in every chakra? Yes. Okay. They're showing me the analogy of like a pilot light on a stove it's like your pilot light has been turned off. Okay, so what is it that we can do to reignite that, please? There are going to be a couple of lifetimes that we're going to take a look at that are going to help her to reignite that fire. This was self-imposed for her. She turned off the light in her chakras for a reason. Okay. She did this in a previous lifetime. How long ago? You will see when you get into the records. Okay. Okay, so that's unique. I've not seen that before. Okay, we'll take a look at that then. All right. So then let's move that light up to your heart space.
Which is empty apparently.
Well, and that's the thing. Usually I'm able to go through each of the chakras and they're just saying, no, just bypass all of it because you're not going to be able to see anything until we turn them on. So,
So they've been off this whole entire lifetime of this current
yes.
lifetime. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea why, but we will find out.
Okay.
I want to thank Akula, my Akashic guide. Thank you so much for being here and assisting with the session today. I love you too. Thank you. Thank you to Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sandalphon for being here as well. Today we are opening up the Akashic Records. Yeah, that's not surprising. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the chakra system and then we'll dive into the rest of it. So you said a couple different lives we need to look at. What lifetime do we need to look at first as to why she shut off her chakra system, please? It's interesting because I'm seeing that like prior to you shutting off the chakra system, it's like all of your chakras were really like clogged up with all kinds of stuff, all kinds of things from past lives, all kinds of traumas and problems and issues with loving yourself and loving others. And I'm hearing the words, why is it that every time I love, I get hurt? So I didn't know that we had the ability to shut down our chakras. So can you explain to us, please, how that even happens and why she did it to begin with in this previous lifetime? Oftentimes you see the chakra system as being blocked where there's like a piece of melting tar over the chakra. And we give you that visual in order for you to understand that the chakra is blocked based on whatever might be going on for a past life. This visual that we're giving you, it's not that her chakras are empty. It is simply that they have been turned off. You know that you can close your chakras. Every person on this planet has the ability to close their chakras. Most notably, you can close your third eye chakra to prevent yourself from seeing or experiencing your intuition in a way that is too much, that is too difficult to deal with. And so this is part of the reason why she shut off all of her chakras, is that a lot of the issues and the blockages that she had residing in her chakra system were too difficult to deal with in the full force that they were in the full energy that they were in. And so ultimately, what she wanted to do was to be able to work on them a bit at a time, each one of these issues, each one of these situations, and work on them without the influence of another situation. So let's say, for example, she had a blockage in her root chakra based on being kidnapped, which she had been in the past. She didn't want that situation affecting her being able to heal her heart from a heartbreak of a husband that died. She wanted to be able to work through each and every issue on a soul level without being overwhelmed by every single one of the issues.
So it sounds like, if I'm understanding this correctly, I've had a lot of past lives with a lot of trauma.
Yes.
Okay. So much so that it built up to where my soul could not even operate in a clear-headed way to move forward and learn from it almost.
Yeah. What's interesting is that everybody deals with these types of things differently because this type of blockage due to past life trauma is not unusual. I mean, a lot
Right.
of us go through that kind of stuff.
Sure.
The difference is that oftentimes what ends up happening, especially if it's like a very traumatic thing that happened that wasn't meant to happen. So in other words, let's say it's a death that was occurring in a particular lifetime that was not meant to occur, like that type of big trauma. Sometimes what happens is that the soul kind of pops out of the body, if you will.
Hmm.
And the way that I like to describe it is that like it's almost like a balloon on a string. So you have your soul like kind of hovering above the body because it doesn't want to get caught up in the psychic debris of the energy that you're dealing with on the human level. So if you can imagine trauma looking like static around the entire body, the soul will pop out so it doesn't have to sit in that static. So
Hmm.
that's something that is more common for people to do, that they'll just sort of disconnect from their soul in a way, or their soul will disconnect from their body in order to be able to move through whatever trauma it is. And then
Or
once the
process
trauma
it.
is
Okay.
gone, yeah, once that's gone, then their soul will kind of settle back in.
Okay.
So that's not what you did.
Yeah,
What you, right.
clearly.
You did something completely different. So you decided, okay, cool. I'm going to shut down my chakra system and I'm going to move through each trauma in the way that I feel like I can handle it. So you went through, as they were showing me, like the heartbreak with the husband dying. You were handling that on its own. The kidnapping, you were handling that on its own. So you've been slowly over the course of time, like dealing with each individual one. And I'm seeing like it's almost like you systematically open up one chakra at a time and kind of like meticulously work through that and then shut it back down again.
And my soul is doing this.
Yep,
Obviously, I'm not doing this in the 3D because I very
correct.
rarely even meditate, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's why.
Yeah, it's a very good reason why you wouldn't, is because if your chakras aren't open and if you're not able to ground very well, it is very hard.
I can't. Yeah,
It's very hard to get into the higher levels. Yeah. So that is something you find a hard time to, you find it hard to ground?
I find it hard to, yeah, to meditate. To, I don't even know what my own thoughts are. Like, this is something I've really thinking about a lot lately, of what my own thoughts are versus my guides talking to me. I have a really hard time of, people are like, just talk to them and they're there. And, and I'm like, I don't, what? I don't
Yeah.
know what that means.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, are my thoughts them, or them they're talking to me, and or is it just my thoughts? And I know a lot of people have that issue, but understanding by what you just told me, all of that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, so let me take a look at like what it is that we need to do in order to help you with that. So they're allowing me to look at the chakra system now. Like they needed me to see that first before I was able to
Okay.
see what was going on underneath. So now I'm seeing the root chakra is the one that needs the most help. The sacral chakra is doing okay. It's not super strong, but it's like you have done a lot of work surrounding your sexual energy, your divine feminine energy. It's something that I'm hearing you've been working on more recently, like in the last couple of years. And then we're going to take a look at the solar plexus chakra. Your solar plexus chakra is kind of a yellow green. And usually, when I see colors sort of mixed together like that, that usually means that your heart is overcompensating for your solar plexus chakra. So, in other words, your own personal power is being assisted by your heart chakra. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's not necessarily something that is super helpful because basically your solar plexus chakra needs to be autonomous in its function without help from the heart chakra. And what is happening right now is your heart is, I don't want to say that it's overtaxing itself, but it is almost overtaxing itself. Okay, so in what way is it overtaxing itself for the solar plexus chakra then? You're trying to love more than your personal power wants you to. That can look a lot like they're saying it's like distorted unconditional love. So what that can look like is you say, okay, you know what? I'm good. I'm good where I am. I'm good on my own. I'm good doing what I'm doing. And I'm just going to love this person through whatever they need to go through. And the thing is that you're not quite in touch with where you are in terms of how their problems, their shadow, their issues are affecting
me.
you.
Yep.
Yep.
That makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes so much sense.
So you have to make sure that you are connecting to your own solar plexus chakra first to say, okay, what is okay for me? What boundaries do I need to draw?
Yeah. Yep. Boundaries for sure. Yeah.
And then go in with the love after that and say, okay, this is what I am willing to give, and this is what I am able to give.
I had a falling out with a good friend who I thought was a good friend, and telling my son about it. And my youngest is 18, and he says, "Mom, I think you just make really shitty friends." And I was like, I was thinking about that earlier because I tend to, what I think I've been drawn to people with a lot of issues, a lot of
Mm,
shadow. And and I'm like, well, maybe I'm just here to help them. But then I'm like, am I in lower vibration? And that's why I'm drawn to them. So, like, what is
mm.
happening? So, what you just described, that makes up so much sense to me.
And the thing is that sometimes, and it just really depends on the person. Sometimes it is because we connect with them when we are in lower energy, and then we actually grow. And
Hmm.
then after that, they're still in the same energy and we're not. And then the disparaging energy becomes much more obvious. That can also happen with relationships as you go through your spiritual journey. Let's take a look at your heart space. Your heart space looks good, except for it's like, for lack of a better term, it's bloated. And I'm not sure why they're showing it to me like that. Okay, so can you show us what you mean by that, please? Yeah, okay. So it's like if you show so much love on the outside, then nobody will be able to see the fear you have on the inside. And I'm seeing like a little girl on the inside of your heart. And this is representative of your inner child. It's like this little girl on the inside is kind of curled up in a ball, like, oh God, please don't let this happen again. I don't want this to happen again. I don't want that to happen again. Oh my God, please just, can something different happen, please? Like, so she's like kind of navigating all of this in the center of your heart space. And yet your outward heart, let's put it that way, is just portraying that you are just this beautiful love and light of a person and that you're all good. Now, I'm seeing that with this particular situation with your heart chakra, this feels like more current life things rather than past life things. And it's not a surprise that your crown chakra and your third eye are relatively closed. And the reason for that is that when you shut your chakra system down, like, you can't really function with those. So you have to have your chakra system up and running in order for you to be able to fully get your messages in. All right, so then let's take a look at your throat chakra. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Throat chakra is like black, 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 black. Okay. So what that usually means is that is from an old past life. Like, that is something that you have been doing for a very, very long time. And that has to do with your communication and how you communicate with others.
That would make sense.
We're going to look at the past life with the throat chakra and the heart chakra and how they are connected, but they are connected somehow to what is going on in the throat chakra. All right, so let's take a look at what happened there, please. Okay, this is going really far back. This is like 27 lifetimes ago.
Oh, wow. They usually don't show you that far back, do they?
No, they really don't. Usually, because we're always clearing all of these things like on a regular basis. So usually the most we really go back is between 8 and 12. Sometimes we'll go 17. There are times when we do have to go back to even ancient lifetimes that we have to clear something, but it just depends on how stuck something is. Whew, and I'm feeling that energy in the throat, that's for sure. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. This is what I do. I just asked my guides to clear it for me. All right, so show us what happened, please. Yeah, like, this is sadly a common practice. So you had your tongue cut out for speaking something that you weren't supposed to. You were a man in this lifetime. You were speaking out against the treatment of some of the workers that you had in your employ, you were working on a building of some sort, like a dwelling. I'm hearing the word fiefdom. So somehow like you were under contract for building these buildings for this, whether it was a king or a pharaoh or something like that. You were trying to look out for the welfare of your employees. So you had a whole bunch of people working under you. For all intents and purposes, they were slaves. I mean, they were getting paid, but like very, 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 very minimal payment. Like it wasn't even enough to even eat or provide any sort of lodging of any sort. And whoever you were working for thought that they were like the most generous person ever. I'm hearing him say, like, look at me. I don't have slaves. I pay my workers, right? But it was
Hmm.
like, yeah, dude, but you're paying them like less than what is necessary for having like one meal in a day. It's pretty much slavery. Like you can pat yourself on
Hmm.
the back, but that's not the case. So
Hmm.
you basically were trying to speak out for the people that were under you, the people that were working for you. I'm hearing that you had kind of a close relationship with this king. You had many meetings with him. So it's not like this was several rungs down on the ladder, so to speak, where you weren't able to communicate with the king. The king actually valued your opinion and would talk to you quite often. And that's why you felt comfortable enough asking for more money for these people. And you continued to ask for it. And I'm hearing the king say, don't ever ask me about this again. I will not grant you the money. I will not give it to you, these rats that work for you. This is your problem, not mine. Ooh, okay. So you decided to do something a bit more bold because all of these conversations that you had with the king were like behind closed doors. They were
Hmm.
all in private, just like one-on-one conversations. And so what you did is you decided, oh, hey, I'm going to go and make an official plea. So you went formally with an audience to the king in front of everybody and basically pleaded your case about these workers. And that's when the king had your tongue cut out. He had to make an example out of you. And he also sentenced you to being one of the workers. Because you had your tongue cut out, you weren't going to be able to be the foreman, for lack of a better term. So like you weren't going to be able to direct the workers. So then basically he hired a new person and then you ended up becoming one of these workers. So you went from great wealth to having no wealth and having no money. You felt betrayed because you kind of thought that this king was somewhat of a friend. You knew he was not a good person, but you thought at the very least there was some respect there.
Hmm.
And there really, really wasn't. So this created a lot of bitterness within you. So not only did you have your tongue cut out and so you couldn't speak, but then also you were like, well, fine. Why should I even speak anyway? Like, why should I even speak out against anything that is happening to anyone? Because I'm just going to be the one that gets punished. So I'm just going to not speak. I'm not going to talk about what I see. I'm not going to talk about what has been witnessed in terms of atrocities or injustices. And this kind of carried on throughout the rest of this lifetime and then future lifetimes. Okay. So is there anything else we need to know about that lifetime? No. Is there anything we can do to clear it? Yes. Okay. I'm going to ask for all of your guardian angels to surround you now to help clear this throat chakra issue, helping you to understand that you can speak now, that you can state the things that you need. You can ask for the things you need. You can set boundaries where you want to set boundaries. You can communicate those boundaries and have them be heard and understood. And your life and your livelihood is not being threatened at this time based on this. So just the knowledge of this past life can help you move through this as well. And I'm hearing that a lot of this can kind of translated through your relationship life because it's like, I see that you're almost afraid to speak what you want to a partner for fear that they will just leave you. This has shown up in so many other ways in your life in this current lifetime where you've had a hard time, and this is where it comes into the heart chakra. You've had a hard time expressing fears, expressing what you really feel feel in a particular situation, being vulnerable, telling a person that you're afraid that you might get hurt, telling a person that you find it difficult to trust in a particular situation. All of these things you keep hidden within yourself. And so the person doesn't know what they're dealing with in terms of how you're responding to certain things because they don't have any of that prior information. They don't have the information about how you are moving through certain challenges because you don't talk about it. You don't express it in a way that can be understood by the other person. But at the same time, you don't want the other person to understand, because to be vulnerable means that you have to trust the person with your heart. You have to trust the person with the information that you're going to give them, and you don't necessarily trust. This is one thing that they want you to understand too, is that when you are vulnerable with your feelings, emotions, desires, fears, when you are vulnerable with these things, you don't have to worry about trusting another person with them, simply because the other person cannot affect you and their reactions cannot affect you when you are standing in your own personal power. And that is the key. Key is to be able to be secure within yourself enough to know that if the person rejects you, if the person hurts you, or if the person reacts in a way that is undesirable, that that is their reaction, that is their issue. It has zero reflection on who you are, and it has zero reflection on the validity of your needs or desires.
I'm hearing, stop taking it so personal, girl. You know?
Totally. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm actually even hearing something because I usually don't.
Yeah. Well, you're going to start hearing more now that we're clearing out these
Yay.
chakras.
Oh, I'm
So,
so
yeah.
excited. That makes me so,
Yeah.
so, so happy.
The thing is that yes, that is the truth, and it is easier said than done to not take things so
Yeah.
personally, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We go around and we take things personally all the time, all day, every day sometimes. It was funny. Yesterday, I was at Disneyland with my sister for her birthday. There was a girl in front of us in one of the lines, and her friend came up to her and was like, "Oh my God, what happened to you? Where did you go? Like, you totally left me. And why did you not tell me where you were going?" And she was just like totally just on her about this, right? And I just
Mhm.
kind of laughed because I was like, huh, okay. Well, that one is hurt. And clearly
Yeah.
this has happened before. And this
Yeah.
one is like, what? I was just doing my thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's so interesting how we have these dynamics that we grow up with, or this wounding that we grow up with, or this way that we operate amongst friends or amongst relationships. And we think that this is the way that we're meant to operate, when in fact, it ends up being rooted in either codependency or something that is rooted in our own wounding.
Hmm.
When it comes to your relationships, part of the issue that I'm seeing across the board, they're not even like pointing out one relationship or another. It's almost been like all of the relationships that you've had have just been a continuation of the same theme. What you end up doing is you end up playing out some of these challenges with vulnerability, with expressing your own desires and fears, with expressing your anger even at how things have turned out or what has happened. And without expressing these true emotions in some way, you're dealing with half of a person essentially, or you're dealing with a facade of a person. And it's not to say that this is something that is unique to you, because a lot of people do this. But what they want you to understand is that you don't have to continue doing this. Is it correct that all of these things have transpired for you, and then you married your twin flame, and then all of these things started unraveling?
All of these things, as in,
All of the behaviors that you had had in the past?
I think after divorcing, I think I started just feeling more lost because when it's good, it's good. He was the person I went to after my sister passed because he had lost his brother, and I felt like he was the only person that would like get it. You know, people are there for you and they act like they understand, but they don't really understand. And so I, after years of not talking to him, reached out to him, and I just felt empty after my sister died. And I think, you know, a lot of things of like, why am I even trying this? It doesn't even matter. Like some of the little things, these mundane things in life don't matter. There's more to life than this. And I want to live a fulfilled life and not just do what I'm supposed to be doing. Does that make sense?
That's kind of what they mean by like the unraveling of it. So it's like the
Yeah.
unraveling of the person that you used to be.
Yeah.
When did your spiritual awakening start?
I would say I've always been a spiritual person. What does that mean, I guess? Can you define that for me?
When do you feel like you started becoming aware of your own soul, divinity, going down this path?
In my teens.
So we're going to look at the connection you have with it is your last ex-husband, right? The one that you said is you think is your twin?
Yeah.
I want to connect into the lifetime that you originated together because I want to see if there is some indication that you are twin flames. So let me take a
Okay.
look. So have they had past lives together? They have. Okay. Can we see their soul's origins together, like how they first started incarnating? Yes. Your soul really loves doing things like completely differently than anybody else. All right. So I'm not going to say that you're not twin flames, but it's like a twin flame adjacent.
Okay.
So the typical definition of a twin flame is that you're one soul split into two different humans. What you did, what you two did in the inception of your first incarnation together, I'm seeing you on the other side as souls, and you're having a conversation, and you are two separate souls, and you're like chatting and chatting. You're like, okay, so let's incarnate together. We like each other as souls. We think that we have a very similar resonance. Let's do this. And so what you did is in that first incarnation, you incarnated as one person.
Oh
So if
my
you can
God.
imagine like two souls hanging out in one person. So you did this a few times.
So instead of breaking into two, we became one.
Yes.
Oh my God. How amazing. Okay.
So what's interesting about that is that this is all just experiment, right? So as souls, we just are like, oh, hey, let's try this. Let's see what this does. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this is a thing. So when we think about this, like a lot of people get really, really hung up on, oh, twin flames are exactly this. And this is what twin
Yeah.
flames have to do. And this is what we are. And this is what a soulmate does. And this is, and it's like
Hmm. All these
we're,
very black and white definitions.
we're very fond of labels here. Very fond
Yeah.
of labels. We have to let go of that sometimes and just accept that sometimes our souls just do crazy, wacky things that just like, hey, let's try this. Let's see what this does, you know?
Hmm.
And that's kind of what your souls did. So you incarnated in a few humans as two souls in one body.
Two souls in one body. That poor person.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that it was easy. It wasn't
Yeah,
easy.
no, I couldn't imagine. But we've been together since incarnation then.
Yeah. And it's
Wow.
funny because well, you have had incarnations previously separately, but
Okay.
they were not human incarnations. So like you were maybe animals or you were maybe grass or
Rocks or
trees
something.
or
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but like not like your first human incarnations, you were like, "Hey," I'm literally just seeing you guys high five each other. And you're like, hey, let's do this. Cool. This will be fun. And then you get in the body and his soul is on one side, your soul is on another, let's say. Right. And like,
Hmm.
and you're both kind of squished in there and you're like, okay, let's switch sides. Let's see if that works. No, that didn't work either. Okay, let's switch sides again. Okay, that didn't work. So it's like you're trying to like figure out how to work symbiotically together within this person.
So I guess that probably explains why we have a lot of the same dynamics and feelings and that type of mirroring that twin flames do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that being just drawn to each other because we literally are each other almost.
Yeah, and because you've had a lot of the same experiences. So,
Yeah. Even in this lifetime we have.
yeah, so when you have similar experiences, it really does continue to bond you together. Okay.
Okay.
I'm seeing that you did this for about 5 lifetimes, which isn't a lot. It's not
Right.
a lot of lifetimes to be doing that, but it was enough that you both had your first incarnations as humans here on earth together. And so, because of that, it did sort of bond your souls together.
Okay.
And so you have been incarnating ever since together. And there have been times when you've thought about incarnating in the same person again, but you both decide that it's probably not a good idea because it didn't work out well the last few times. So why do it now? You keep on trying to encourage this. You're like, hey, but that was a really long time ago. We've lived like hundreds of thousands of lives since then. So, hey, maybe it'll work now. And he's kind of like, no,
Yeah,
I think I'm good. Like, I think we can not do that anymore,
that sounds right.
Because the other thing is that you didn't really learn anything different from being in the same body. It was like
Okay.
the amount of benefit from doing that didn't really do a lot. They didn't encourage a lot of growth. It didn't have the desired effect.
You didn't learn any lessons. Yeah. We weren't learning anything really new.
Right, exactly.
Or have you come across this before?
I have not.
Okay. So we don't have a name even for this.
No, we really do not.
Okay. You're learning all kinds of new stuff. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is awesome. I love learning new stuff. It's great.
We're both going to be tired after this.
Oh, that's funny. What is interesting, I have seen people who are twin flame adjacent, but not that exact definition of one soul, two bodies. I have seen twin flame adjacent things where people have incarnated in various different ways that sort of operate similarly to twin flames. But that's not surprising because it's like the feeling or the energy of the twin flame is mostly a connection of extreme familiarity due to the fact that you have a similar soul resonance.
Mhm.
It's basically we want to know about you and your ex is what was the purpose for you coming together in this lifetime.
Have we known each other in every lifetime?
Not every lifetime, no. You've
Okay.
taken various breaks where you have connected with other people in terms of soulmates, relationships, all of those things, and maybe that you weren't even incarnated at the same time.
Okay.
So you've sort of taken turns doing various different things. I'm seeing you had pretty big gaps too, where like maybe there were like 50 lifetimes where you weren't together at all. And then maybe you came back together another time and
So how does that work? Because that's part of my soul is missing when we're not together, right? We became one soul. So when we're not together, that has to feel really empty.
well, no, because you're still whole and complete souls in and of yourselves. So it's
Okay.
like you
Okay.
did become one soul, but then you
We just
did,
kind of like melted together and then, but we
yeah,
can, okay.
and then you came apart. But the thing is
Got it.
that you do still feel and connect together in a way that is much deeper than you would with most people.
Okay. Got it. That makes total sense. Okay.
Interestingly enough, some of the emptiness that you're talking about is actually due to the lifetimes that you did not incarnate together. So, for example, a lot of the experiences that you had apart made you sort of different souls, so to speak, in the sense that it differentiated your energy fields in a way that you hadn't felt that difference before together. And so part of the emptiness that you're feeling is like you're missing that connection that you had before you started having these experiences apart because now his soul feels different than yours. It feels different than it did back then. And you feel like it shouldn't feel different. You feel like it should feel the same and it doesn't. And so there are times when he'll do things in the physical, in the 3D, where you're like, wait a minute, no, you're not supposed to do stuff like that. Like, that's not who you are. Like, I know who you are, and that's not who you are. And that's part of the disjointed energy that you're feeling between the two of you is this experience that he has had outside of you. And you're kind of like, wait, where did you go wrong? No, why did you have that experience? That's not good. And he's kind of like, just let me live my life. Let me have the experience that I'm meant to have. Don't judge the experiences that I've had based on what you feel like I should have.
I'm going to let him listen to this and he's going to look at me and go, see? I can tell you right now, I can just see his eyes looking at me going, duh. Told you.
Oh, that's so funny. I love it. You are meant to help each other grow, though. And you are helping each other grow. They're asking me to ask you if there is one thread that you could weave throughout all of your romantic relationships, what would it be?
He has been that thread. If you took all of my romantic relationships and lined them up, it'd be that thread in and out, in and out, in and out
Okay,
through
got
them.
it.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the answer that they're looking for, or if they're looking at for personality trait.
How long have you known each other? When did you meet?
We met when I was 18. I was married to my first husband at the time when we met.
And what would you say is the reason for the marriage's ending?
Well, I was very young, my first two marriages. I have three kids, two amazing young men or adult men basically now from my first marriage, and then another my 18-year-old from my second marriage. And I have incredible kids. I don't even know why they picked me. They're incredible human beings. I totally lucked out there. Marriages probably ended because I ran, got bored, or I made excuses, or I wasn't happy. There was a lot of probably selfishness and a lot of that looking back. And I was, again, so young.
Sure.
You learn a lot in your 20s and 30s.
Oh my gosh, yes, 100%. Yeah.
So, and I honestly, and I had a lot of unhealthy relationships after those marriages. So they're both good men. I have good relationship with them now. Even they're probably two of the best men I ever were with. And they're great fathers.
There's something about what we were talking about in terms of the inner child that they want to talk about. So hold on a second. I'm going to take a look at where that connects in. I just keep on hearing she doesn't trust.
Like anybody.
Well, and the thing is that with it, it's like that is a separate issue entirely. It's easy to take a look at your marriages and say, I was young, there was him. I was kind of thinking, hey, things would be better with him. But there is a dynamic that happens there when you are continually running. And
Yeah.
essentially what you're doing is you're not running away from them, you're running away from you. You're running away from this little girl inside your heart who is saying, hey, I'm really hurt right now. Hey, I'm really scared. Hey, I don't know which way to turn. I don't know where to go. Can somebody please help me?
That I would think is from another lifetime because I did not have those issues. I had I have great parents. I had a great upbringing.
They were saying that this is not coming from another lifetime. So hold on, let me see.
Really?
Let's, because when we looked at the heart space, they were saying that the inner child, this is from this lifetime. So let's take a look at where this might be coming from.
Okay.
There are times when these types of things can feel incongruous to your experience in a lifetime. We're going to unravel this for you so you can see and understand where this is coming from and why. You signed up to have harmonious relationships within your parentage. You signed up to have harmonious relationships with your children. Even with your husbands, you had harmonious relationships. The fear that you have in the center of your heart as it pertains to this inner child is something that is rooted inside of you. And that fear needed to be addressed not by an outside source, but by you specifically. If you have everything in your outside world in alignment and you are still having issues of trust and fear, where do you have to look at that point? You have to look inside. You have to look within. And you were asking if this is something from a past life, and we say that it isn't. Although this is one small caveat that we need to make. It has to do with your current lifetime, but also it has to do with the nature of your soul. The nature of your soul is one that is very giving, very loving, but can also be in a space of selfishness. And we do not say that in a judgmental way. We do not say that in a negative way in any way. You use this word selfishness on this planet in the negative context because you deem self to be bad. You quantify doing something for self as not being nice, that you must always do something for others and not yourself. You have deemed yourself as selfish. You have deemed yourself as someone that you cannot trust, someone that you abandon yourself for what others want. This is why this fear had come up, because if you were to truly express the things that you wanted, the things that you desired, the things that you knew in your heart that were aligned for you, you knew that the people in your life, the relationships that you had would leave. This is a more subtle version of what we're talking about with the fear and the abandonment of self. You will feel these things more deeply at a later time. You will understand how this is playing out for you, and how you can stop running is by being present with self, by accepting selfishness, by accepting who you are. The challenge with selfishness is if it is only selfishness and only selfishness, that can breed lack of compassion. But that is not something that you will ever have to worry about because you have compassion, you have love within your heart. And so to look after self is not a problem. It doesn't make you a bad person. The flip side of this is you have to understand and know that when somebody else is doing the same, you have to accept that. You have to acknowledge that that is what is best for them and to not take that personally. Does that make sense?
Yes. And ironically, every so often, he literally asks me this question: when is it your time to be selfish?
Mm-hmm.
He uses that word, and I always take it as an insult. Like, why would I be selfish? But the way that they just described it, I don't know if he even means to say it that way, but it makes me look at that in a whole different way.
Yeah.
Because he thinks I just do everything, for the ex-husbands and the kids, and well, I'm the mom.
But also comes along with that, and this is not, I'm not seeing that this is inner child. I'm seeing that this is you. You have guilt, and the guilt
Hmm.
is for not feeling or acting or being a certain way.
Yes, I tons of guilt.
And so that's something that you need to let go of. You need to be able to move through that and say, you know what? I do not have to feel guilty for my desires, for what is aligned for me, and for what I feel.
How do I do that?
Forgiveness of self. Because the thing is that if we are always aligned, then we would always make the best decisions for our highest timeline. That would be
Mhm.
great, right? But
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's just not how life works. So basically, forgiving ourselves for making the decisions that we did, allowing ourselves to be in grace for the changes that we make in our lives. Because if you think about it, you're not the same person that you were when you were 18, like you said.
right.
And so to hold on to guilt means to hold on to not changing, saying, I'm sorry for changing and for not being the same person I was 18 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah,
And that's not something we should ever have to apologize for. We should never have to apologize for evolving or changing or having to go through something because we have to break out of whatever box we've put ourselves in. Now, of course, we have to take responsibility for the collateral damage if there is any, but I'm hearing that you've already paid for that tenfold.
okay.
You've already made up for all of those situations. If you were just doing things just for yourself and leaving a trail of bodies in the wake, yeah, okay, that's not great. That's not a great thing to do. But the thing is that that's not what you have done. Each time you asked for something that you wanted or that you needed or that you desired of yourself, you gave yourself the guilt trip of like, yeah, but if I take this or if I do this, I will be hurting this other person or I will
Yeah,
be hurting myself. And that's part of the problem is that like when you're working with your inner child, she knows exactly what you need. She knows exactly what she wants. And if you're not conversing with her, if you're not talking to her about those things, she can get kind of pissed at you for not actually listening, right?
yeah. That's so. That was the last thing that I thought would be an issue, just because I was looking at it from a totally different perspective.
Mm. Well, I mean, the thing is, it's kind of the case with this entire reading, right? Like
Yeah,
most people would say, "Oh yeah, okay, I need to do inner child work because I was not parented by my parents, or I was not given the love that I needed when I was a child." Those are things that are pretty typical, but that's not the case with you.
I had the best parents. I have the best parents.
But that doesn't mean that you don't need to nurture
Right,
your inner child,
right,
right?
right. Yeah, and now I know that, which
Yeah.
also makes a lot of sense.
So you asked the question at the beginning of the session about your romantic relationship life. And we've come to a place now in the conversation where it's basically going to be up to you. You're going to have to be in a place where you can identify what it is you're truly looking for. But before you're able to get to that place, you're going to be able to spend some time on your own and give yourself that time to be selfish.
That process freaks me out. My youngest has 6 months left of living at home,
Hmm.
50% of the time because we share custody. But I've been a mom since again I was 19,
Hmm.
and so my entire adult life has been being a mom to my three incredible humans. And my oldest is almost 24. It's going to be 24. My middle one is going to be 21.
Hmm.
Now it's like, now what?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big fear, just not being needed, maybe. Because my kids are really awesome. Like my parents are like, "Bye, see you guys," Get out now. But I think our generation is a little bit different where we're like, don't leave us. We love you so much.
Uh-huh. It's true. Well, and the other thing is that if you are on your own, when you are on your own, you are faced with you.
Yeah. I'll have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
That's the universe working in the way that it needs to. And it's like,
Exactly.
okay, seriously, there's literally nothing else for you to focus on.
Yes. Yes.
We've removed all obstacles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the thing is that now that your chakra system is being worked on, and they're asking me to give you a little exercise to do, and it's going to be very simple. It's going to be you just sitting down for maybe 5 minutes and imagining each chakra opening up. So imagine your crown chakra and just think and feel open. Go to your third eye, think and feel open. And if it helps to visualize, you can visualize like a lotus flower opening. You can envision opening like a door or whatever it is you want to use as a visualization. It's up to you. But then go into your throat chakra, think and feel open. Heart chakra, think and feel open and say hi to your inner child. Solar plexus, think and feel open.
And my inner child lies within my heart chakra, right?
She is right now. I don't know why, but she is.
My inner child usually lives.
I mean, your inner child is within you always. So,
Always, but not
yeah,
necessarily in a chakra.
not
Okay.
necessarily in a chakra, but that's where yours is at the moment. So,
Yeah.
going down to your sacral and your root chakra. And so then just sit with your chakras open for a few minutes and then go back through the process, going in reverse, starting with the root chakra, setting the intention to close it, and then close each one. So just go through and opening each one and then closing each one. And then while you have your chakras open, see if you notice a difference when the messages come in, if they come in more clearly, if you get more messages, if you...
What do messages feel like? Because clearly in my entire life, everything's been closed, like said. So what does that even feel or look like?
So it's going to be different for everyone. So everyone has all of the clairs, but not everybody has strong versions of all of the clairs. So for example, my most dominant as I've gone through my life is clairsentience. So that is clear feeling. So for example, when I know something to be true, I get chills up my spine. Like it starts at my tailbone, goes all the way up my shoulders into the top of my head. I know that that's confirmation that yes, I'm on the right track. Clairaudience is clear hearing. So that's hearing songs or messages through songs, or sometimes for me, like you'll hear throughout the session when you hear the playback of this, you'll hear me say, oh, I'm hearing this. And I'm not actually hearing it with my physical ears. It's almost like somebody is just sort of like putting the information in my ears, if you will. It's almost like you're listening to something in another dimension almost.
Kind of like when I heard, don't take it so personal, girl.
100%. Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
totally it.
Okay.
I didn't get my clairvoyance until I started opening up the records, but some people, they open their clairvoyance right away where they start seeing little movies behind their eyes. So when I'm in the Akashic Records, that's what I see. So like I see visuals of people or places or situations. And then you have the claircognizant, which is the clear knowing. And that is, well, I know it. I don't know how I know it. I just do, right?
Yeah, it's like beyond a gut feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
What I want you to do when you're doing this little exercise with your chakras is I want you to pay attention to messages if they're coming in. See how they're coming in for you. Just kind of feel into your body and say, okay, am I feeling it in my body? Am I hearing it? Am I seeing it? Am I knowing it? Just kind of pay attention to that and write these messages down. So
Okay.
it's always important to write them down in a notebook so then you can refer back to them later and you can say, oh, hey, look, oh yeah, I got that message and that's what happened. Or, hey, that was totally correct. That was great advice. Thank you. Pay attention, write them down, write down how they came in for you. So if you feel like they came in with a sound, came in clairaudiently, or came in clairvoyantly, whatever it comes in as. And that just encourages more of the same.
Okay.
I want to connect in with your sister before we close out. She is petting your head and she's saying, don't worry at all. She is exactly where she needs to be. Was this an exit point that you took? It was not. I was supposed to depart at that time. She's saying she knows it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like that was her time. It felt too abrupt or too sudden, but that's how she wanted to go out. She didn't want some long drawn out thing. She had a lot of stuff to do on the other side, a lot of things to accomplish before this next lifetime.
That would make sense. I think she struggled with some shadow for sure in this life, but she was really good at hiding.
But she's saying that somehow she ended on a high note because had she continued living, it would have declined from there. So for her and her soul's journey, she ended on a high note. And she did transmute some of the things that she needed to transmute in order to let go of some of the old past life things that she needed to let go of.
She was so afraid to die her whole life. So that's what I think was so jarring. And I was so worried about her. She was always afraid of death.
It's part of the reason why she wanted it to happen quick is because she didn't want that long drawn out process because that fear would have gotten the best of her.
Yeah.
But also because we always know our death day on a soul level. And so she knew, and she's saying that it wasn't really her choice to die that early, but she knew that it was something that she had to do in order to get through the shadow that she needed to get through. For example, if you need to move through shadow or if you need to work through a particular thing from a past life, you have a bunch of different options that you can choose in order to get through those things. And for her, this was going to be the most beneficial and like kind of the easiest in a way, the easiest for her anyway.
She knows we were all there around her.
Yes, she could feel all of you. You know what's interesting is that like it's almost as if her soul kind of left her body before she died.
Really? Okay.
So like I'm seeing her, like if you're all around her, like I'm seeing her soul already
Above
hanging out,
her.
yeah, above her. Like she had already decided that she wanted to have this experience with all of you without the heaviness of the body.
That would be so very her.
And you know what? All of that love that every one of you gave her was so healing for her. I'm hearing the grief in her lungs.
Yeah. They had to intubate and sedate her like 4 or 5 times. But she kept waking up every time they said she wouldn't, and she did. It started with liver failure, but then the last time she was admitted, it turned into pneumonia, and it was a lot of waking up and getting worse, waking up and getting worse.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why her soul kind of popped out is because it was like, yeah, nope, I'm not going to experience that.
Yeah.
She's saying you knew.
Hmm.
You knew on a soul level when she popped out of her body.
I was the only one that like knew her. Her mortality rate was really high. Not new, accepted. Everybody else in the family just couldn't wrap their heads around it. And I think her soul popped out. I wasn't there. I was flying back early morning from a football trip for my kid in Orlando. And as soon as we landed, like the day before they were going to move her on to floor, she was doing really, really good. And then the next morning we landed, and I got a text from my mom saying they intubated her again. And I knew right then and there she was done. There was no doubt in my mind because she wasn't going to come back to the one.
Yeah.
I knew right then she was done. And she died that evening. But she's okay. Oh, can I spread her ashes? I was listening to another medium who read Akashic Records, and they said that spreading ashes was a bad thing. And I'm now, after listening to you, I don't know if that's very true.
Okay, so why would spreading ashes be a bad thing?
I don't know. They said something about like part of being able to come back and collect part of your soul.
They're saying that that could be the case for like a very, 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 very few people.
Okay.
In a very specific circumstance, let's say, for example, the soul was not evolved enough to know that they were deceased and they
Okay.
were still holding on to the body,
Okay.
that
Like, yeah.
there could be the potential for further damage to the soul by not realizing that they were deceased and then seeing their body burned up might do something, but like there would be no inability to fix that. Like, meaning that if, let's say, they had a loved one or if they have other souls on the other side that can help them, they will help them to cross over and be okay. Like, it's not like your soul is attached to the body at that point because the soul is no longer attached to the body, if you will. Let me explain this from the perspective of what I have experienced with my father. When my father was dying, he would come to me in dreams a lot the last 6 months before he died. And I didn't understand it then because each dream I had, I was like, oh God, he died.
Mhm.
And then I'd wake up and he wasn't dead. And I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. All right. So then over the course of time, I figured out that what was happening and what I have been shown is that when somebody is going to die, they have a tendency to spend a lot more time on the other side in their own dream state. So if they're either sleeping or maybe if they're induced coma or something like that, their soul will hang out on the other side as a preparation. Like it's like preparing the
Yeah.
body and the soul for the transition. Okay. So it is
Mhm.
a much more gradual process than we think it is. We think that like, oh, we just die and then the soul is like done and then it just goes somewhere else. It's an overlapping of energies and it's a process.
Because we know our death date.
Correct.
Our soul does.
Yeah. Now there are times when we die when we're not meant to, and that's a whole other story and that sometimes can be jarring, but like for the most part if things go according to plan, then you're able to go back and forth and prepare yourself for that experience.
And she was doing that. Sounds like.
Yeah. Let me ask about the spreading of ashes. It's really appropriate that you're asking this question. I love how sometimes we have these synchronicities because my sister and I are actually going to be spreading my dad's ashes like this weekend. So,
Oh, are you?
yeah. Yeah. He died 3 years ago, but we haven't had a chance to like get to be all in the same place and go to, because he
Mhm.
wants us to go down to San Diego to do it and, these kind of things. So yeah, let me take a look. There is something to laying the body to rest. There is a reason why people bury their dead. There is a reason why people spread their ashes. And the reason for this is more symbolic than physical, but it is also a nice way to help the deceased. It is almost as if there is a remnant of their person left on the earth. And in order for them to reincarnate as a soul with a clean slate, so to speak, spreading of one's ashes or burial can help with that process. The difference is energetic versus physical. There is the energetic debris, the psychic debris that we incarnate with each and every lifetime. So we have described it to you before as a coat that you put on. So as the soul comes down and incarnates in a human body, you put on this coat of psychic debris, if you will, that may be experiences from the previous lifetimes or lessons you need to learn. The spreading of ashes or the burial of a person who is deceased is not the same situation as this coat of psychic debris. These are physical things that are on this earth, and there is a tie to physical things on the earth. There is a reason why we might decide to move to a particular place because maybe we feel drawn to that particular place. Maybe we feel drawn to a particular job because maybe we've had that job in a previous life. When you spread the ashes or bury your dead, and by burial we mean the decomposition of the body, the final decomposition of the body allows the person to be able to be free in their choices. It removes the physical connection to the previous person that they were. And is that a good thing then? Yes, it is a very good thing. Okay. So what happens if you don't spread the ashes? Like what if you end up putting it in an urn and putting it on your mantle? What happens then? The energy of the body still exists in that form, and they are contained within a container that allows it to keep a form. Let's say the person incarnates into another life while those ashes are still in the urn. The particles of those ashes might draw that person to that particular place, almost like a calling, if you will. If you consider having been to any particular cemetery and maybe you come across a grave that you don't know, a person that you don't know, you might feel drawn to a particular place, a particular grave site. That could potentially mean that these are remains of somebody that you know or somebody that you used to be. And it's not just a passing curiosity. You would feel that in your soul. You would know definitively. So from that perspective, the spreading of one's ashes, the returning back to earth is something that is nice to do for your deceased loved ones. They're just showing me the image of spreading the ashes. And for example, like there are certain places where people request their ashes to be spread.
Mhm.
So for example, my father my father made the request that he wanted his ashes spread in Michigan, which is where he lived,
Mhm.
San Diego, which is where he wanted to live, and Iraq, which is where he was born. And I was like, thanks, Dad. Like
You're
you
getting one
told,
out of 3 or
yeah, I was like, you didn't want us to go to Iraq when you were living because you were like, it's too dangerous. Don't go there. And now you're like, Hey, by the way, so you got to spread my ashes over there. So we've made a joke like, hey, well, maybe we can just sidle up to the Iraqi embassy in Paris somewhere and just kind of do it that way. But we've talked to my cousin, like we do have relatives that go over there from time to time. So we're like, well, maybe we can do that. But it's like I don't trust some random stranger to carry my dad's ashes, you know? So like, come on. Like now that I'm looking at it, it's funny because that could be a pull for him. So Iraqi homeland, San Diego being maybe a place that he wanted to be. So maybe if he incarnates again, which I know he probably will, maybe he'll incarnate in San Diego because that's where he really wanted to be. You know what I mean? These could be anchor points for them to be in future lifetimes. But does it necessarily need to be there in order for them to feel guided there? No, it's just like an extra added energy.
So she doesn't want to stay on my nightstand anymore because that's where she's at right now.
It's funny, she's sitting with her fist under her chin, kind of like the thinker.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "No, I'm comfy here. Like I could sit here. It's fine." She's not planning on reincarnating soon. She's got a lot of places that she needs to go and a lot of things she needs to do first. She's saying, take your time.
Okay.
She said she had a place that she wanted her ashes spread.
Was it in California? The water?
Yes.
Okay. She never said that directly to me or to anybody because she would never talk about death, but I figured as much. The San Francisco area, California, or any ocean.
She's showing me something specific. Hold on. I'm trying not to get it mixed up with my own thoughts because whenever I think about San Francisco and water, I think about sea otters, which are like my favorite in the world. So I think about all the otters. She's saying, no,
I
not
love
to that. There's a particular bay that she really liked.
with her ex-boyfriend or boyfriend. She
Yeah.
would know, and he's not my favorite human, but I could, for her sake.
She's showing me like, if you make it in that particular bay, that's cool. If it's the one adjacent or the one north or south, it doesn't really matter. Like it's fine.
But it better be in that area.
Yeah, she's not too particular. She's not picky. Yeah, but she said there's no rush.
Don't be kicking in my room. Sounds good.
Yeah, she's good. No,
Awesome.
she hangs out with you quite a bit. So
Does she?
yeah. Okay, so I am going to close the Akashic Records. Thank you so much, Kula, my Akashic guide. Thank you to Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sanapon for allowing us access to the records today. The records are closed. The records are closed. The records are closed. Thank you. Beautiful. How do you feel?
Great.
Amazing.
Yeah, this was a lot.
Yeah.
Not what I was expecting. So I've listened to all of your podcasts, and it's funny because everyone's like, "That's so validating," and now I'm like, "Whoa, didn't see that coming." You know what I mean? Not that it's not validating, but it's like, wow, you're right. It's almost like I do try to make things harder on myself.
Yeah, it's really it is funny how that happens when we look at our own journeys. Sometimes it can like kind of come out of left field, but at the same time throughout the course of the session you could see, but the thing is that if everything that we said in the session today you were like, yeah, cool. I knew that. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, I knew that. Then like you wouldn't need the session. You know
Right.
what I mean?
And I
Like
wonder about that with some of the people that you have, like the readings that you do have, and it's just like they just agreed with everything, and oh, that makes sense, and that makes sense, and I was like, I'm coming to you for answers because I'm clearly lost, you know. And you
mm-hmm.
provided a ton of answers and a ton of information and a ton of things for me to focus on and really, learn to take in. And that's really all I want to do is just learn and become better and reopen my chakras. That would be great.
Yeah. And once you do that too, that's going to really help to connect in with the information. And I think that's part of the reason why the session went the way that it did is because usually when I'm telling people things that they kind of already know and have confirmed in their subconscious, it's like, you know, the truth of something, even if you don't want to see it or even if you haven't seen it. Right. But with you, because your chakras have been closed, you haven't really been tapping into some of that information. So it's like,
Yeah.
that it's not surprising to me that some of it came from out of left field because like you haven't been connecting to that information.
Yeah.
Now, once you start opening your chakras and then once you start working with them, you might then in fact start to connect to the information. So let's say the next session we do, it might be a little bit more like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I got that like a few months ago. I now I understand that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it'll just go, I think, a little bit more aligned with what you already know, because then you're going to be tapping into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. How often do you suggest getting or like what's too soon? Because I know some people are like, I want to know more. They probably do it too. I've had a friend who was like, I had a reader tell me you need to not keep doing this so much because you're doing it too much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I usually tell people, especially given the fact that this is your first session, I would say at least 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then if the next session you book if it's going to be like totally different subject matter, that's fine. If it's the same subject matter, I usually tell people to wait at least a month for
Yeah.
things to
Okay.
like unfold and integrate and things like that.
Okay.
It just depends on if you have a totally different set of questions, definitely wait 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay?
Awesome. I thank
Amazing.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll send you the recording as soon as I can.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
I would like to thank Cheyenne for sharing her story with us today and giving us this beautiful insight for the benefit of the podcast. The first thing I would like to discuss is the chakra system that we saw with Cheyenne today. The fact that her entire chakra system is shut down. Now, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that her body literally can't function within the chakra system? The answer is no. They are still functional. And as you know, we have hundreds of chakras. It's not just the main chakras in the chakra system that we always talk about. Your chakras still function if they are shut down, but they are at a diminished capacity. So there might be times where she is accessing a little bit of that chakra system for different purposes, but it's almost as if you're a car running on empty. So you're trying to get that last little bit of energy from that gas in that car just to make it that extra distance. But I feel that she has been operating like this her entire life, just trying to squeeze out that last bit of energy that might be behind those blockages, that might be leaking out from behind those blockages. So you might ask yourself, well, if somebody can have blocked chakras in that way, maybe I have blocked chakras. Well, you might. But it's so different for every single person. You really do have to have a session like this in order to identify whether or not you have these issues within your chakra system. You can also do this yourself if you feel confident enough in the intuition that you are getting, where you can do a chakra scan on yourself to see if your chakras are bright and beautiful and spinning and functioning the proper way. And I'm saying functioning the proper way only because sometimes your chakras might spin a different direction. Maybe they don't spin. Maybe they do something else. But it has to be right for what your chakra system does. Most of the time when I come across clients who have blocked chakras, it's not all of them. It's usually just one or two, or maybe the lower 3 chakras are blocked, and in which case that usually does indicate past life situations. The biggest difference with this situation with Cheyenne is that her soul decided to shut down her chakra system purposely. So this wasn't a trauma, this wasn't a past life issue. This was something that her soul did on purpose. So when your soul does something on purpose, you can certainly ask your soul to modify or change whatever it is your soul has done. And I have done this with many people as well, where let's say they have blocked a certain past life. I've seen past lives being bound, meaning that we're not able to access them. And they usually show up for me in the records as like a big black void, like there's nothing to be seen there, like I can't access whatever it is. And so when I see that, I know to ask the client, hey, this is something that is completely bound and eliminated from my view of the records. Is this something that you can release? And we usually work with the soul and ask the soul if it's okay to release that energy. Then we can remove the binding and then the energy will start to come through. Now, the reason why a soul might bind a particular lifetime is maybe it's too traumatic, maybe the energy is too heavy, and they didn't want to bring that energy into the next lifetime because maybe they weren't strong enough to deal with that energy just yet. So maybe they bind it until such time as their soul is strong enough in their physical body to be able to transmute or to deal with that energy. So when we do a session like this and then you open up that binding,
that typically means that, yes, in this lifetime, you are now strong enough that you are able to handle whatever it was that happened, and that energy can now dissipate. So I think this is a good transition to talk about the question that she was asking of, why am I attracting people who have a lot of shadow? And this can be one of the reasons. You could be completely clear in your energy field and in a high vibration in your energy field in this lifetime. But let's say you have some of these bound past lifetimes. Let's say you have past lifetimes that you haven't dealt with yet that are still lodged in your energy field. Those things are going to have an effect on your energy field as a whole. So you may not be consciously aware of these shadows that are still lurking from the past, but your energy field still keeps that recording of whatever has happened, and they are still there. And that is what other people are sort of responding to. Now, oftentimes when you are attracting people who have a lot of shadow, it has to do with lessons that you are learning. It has to do with the universe coming in with some tests, maybe to say, hey, have you learned this lesson? There is also the possibility that you are a transmuter. So this is something that is important to understand, that if you are somebody who transmutes a lot of energy, if you are somebody who is in very, very high vibration, and maybe you are a lighthouse, you can attract people with a lot of shadow because they see your light and they want to bask in it, because when they bask in it, they feel better about themselves. When they leave your light, they feel like crap. So that can also be a reason why you attract people with shadow. Now, transmuters, they attract people with shadow because the people with shadow want to come and have that be transmuted from their energy field. Now, depending on the type of transmuter you are, you may transmute anyone that you come across, but you may also be selective as to who you help transmute the energy. It really does depend on what the situation is. So to answer that question is to say that there are multiple reasons, multiple factors. You can't just answer that question in one sentence about why you would be attracting somebody with a lot of shadow, or you attract multiple people with a lot of shadow. My suggestion is, if this is your challenge, then essentially you need to sort of assess, okay, well, is this thing triggering me? Is this shadow triggering me? Is it triggering something in me? Am I learning something? And if that's the case, then typically that's going to be your first option, which is that this person or this experience is here to teach you or to help you learn a lesson that maybe you haven't learned yet. If you feel like it's coming out of nowhere and you feel a little bit like these are moths coming to a flame, then maybe you're the lighthouse. Maybe you are full of that beautiful bright light that everybody just wants to bask in. Do people come to you and you feel like they're really amazing when they're near you, but then when they're out of your energy field, they turn into toxic people? So that can be another indication too, which is like they're in your energy field and everything's great, but the second they leave, their behavior changes. Try to take a look at all of these different things from that perspective so you can kind of start to identify the reason why these people are coming into your life. And as I always say, that the guides have always told me, nothing is ever a waste of time. You're always going to learn something from some situation. So even if it is something that is maybe not necessarily meant to happen for you, let's say you are a lighthouse and you've got all these moths coming to your flame, it's not that you have to swat them away. It's that you have to put up your protections, be a bit more discerning as to who you let into your energy field. So from that perspective, having all those moths coming to you has allowed you to understand how to protect your energy. You see where I'm getting at? So if you are able to see the lesson in all of it, then you can use the energy for your own benefit. So as we're here talking about lighthouses, and if you are curious as to what that means, that is a term that is used, I think, often to describe certain types of light workers. And we do get really caught in labels on this planet. We want to know what kind of light worker we are. We want to know if we are a twin flame or not. We want to know, is this our soulmate? We want to know all of these things, right? And I'm here to tell you that all of those labels can really be detrimental at a certain point because we use it as an identifier for who we are. And what that does is it limits us. It limits our soul or puts our soul in a little box to the point where we're not able to expand out of that definition. So let's take the lighthouse description. Let's say you are a lighthouse. You are the type of light worker where your energy is super high vibrational. You kind of shine that light for all to see so people can come to you and you can teach them how to use that light. Perfect. Okay, great. But does that mean that being a lighthouse is the only thing that you are? Absolutely not. You could be a lighthouse. You could also be a transmuter at the same time. You could also be psychic. You could also have other spiritual gifts that come into play. You could be multiple things. And every single light worker is multiple things. So don't pigeonhole yourself into saying, I am this, because the only thing you are doing in that respect is limiting yourself. So take the twin flame label, if you will. There are a lot of people who come to me about twin flames, and I understand it because I do identify as someone who has been on a twin flame journey, but I also want to remove that label to a certain extent as well, because everybody's journey is going to be different. So even if there are similarities in my journey to other people, there is not going to be a single person or a single couple that is going to be going through the exact same thing that I am going through with my divine counterpart. I like to remove that label, not to mention the fact that in recent years, that particular label has gotten really, really, really distorted. So not only has it been distorted by people who misused it and used it for nefarious purposes, but also it has been distorted to be something that you would want. So in other words, like you want the ultimate relationship. So instead of just having a soulmate be something that is really connected and nice and easy, everybody's aspiring to have a twin flame because, oh, well, that has to be the better option than a soulmate. And I'm here to tell you that absolutely not. Twin flames are challenging and can be really, really heartbreaking in a lot of ways. It's meant to have an effect of rapid spiritual growth between the two people. It's not necessarily meant to be this great love that is like the best, most amazing love that you could ever possibly have. Now, can it be that? Certainly it can be that, but that's not necessarily the purpose. And so a lot of people really kind of get stuck on that label and say, well, I want a twin flame. And I'm always saying, be careful what you wish for because it's not easy. So I like to sort of stray away from that label, if you will. And you might find me saying divine counterpart a lot because I feel like that's a better definition of what the connection is. It's another soul who is a part of your soul, who is able to help you, who's able to guide you, who's able to trigger you so you learn the lessons faster. And with this particular situation with Cheyenne, and she was asking about whether or not this person was her twin flame. And I understand why, because some of the telltale signs were there, but for the most part, her experience was different. When we saw that the two souls had basically decided to be in one body, two separate souls in one body, that was something completely unique that I had never seen. Now, what's really interesting about that is that it might create some questions within people who are listening right now because, well, why would somebody have two souls in one body? That makes no sense. Well, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but here's the thing. This is all just a playground. So we as souls can pretty much do whatever we want to do. And if we want to experiment with something, if we want to say, hey, let's try this, then we can do that. There are no rules that are saying like, oh, you cannot do this or you cannot do that. No, if it's going to be beneficial or if there is a potential benefit to having that experience, then the universe is completely supportive of that. So for them, they decided to do that. It didn't turn out as well as they thought it was going to. And they decided to stop doing it. Okay, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all about that trial and error. So having two different soul energies in a body would be very interesting to me because that means that you have two different influences on your intuition and on everything else that's going on. And this is also something that I've wondered when it comes to the idea of walk-ins. So walk-ins are essentially the definition of someone who, let's say, has another soul that comes into the body. Let's say that soul knows that their human is not following their path and they're not getting the work done that they're meant to, and they're basically kind of wasting this time on Earth. As opposed to taking an exit point and checking out, they might decide to ask another soul to come in to assist. And so there might be times where that soul will come in to assist that will be in there with the existing soul. But then there might be situations where that soul might depart that body, and then the new soul will come in and live out the rest of that life to not waste the life that has been being lived. There are so many different ways in which these things can unfold. And I want you to think about this from the standpoint of, what am I holding on to that is very rigid? What am I labeling? What am I saying is absolutely true? And can I remove that from my belief systems? Because the more you pigeonhole yourself into particular beliefs, the less you're able to learn more and expand more into your consciousness, because you are limiting yourself to a very particular label, situation, way of life, whatever it is. Expand your limits of what you are willing to accept as knowledge and allow the universe to surprise you. Lastly, I want to talk about distorted unconditional love. I had never really thought about it until this session, and I want to sort of ask the guides if that is something that exists or if it is something that is just simply codependency. There is a slight nuance in the difference between codependency and distorted unconditional love. You can have unconditional love for someone, but then have it play out in a distorted way. And we will give you an example. You might have someone who you are willing to accept unconditionally, their flaws and all. You're able to be vulnerable with this person who is also vulnerable with you. And we have to say that that vulnerability is probably the most important piece in any relationship and in any situation involving unconditional love, because you cannot love somebody unconditionally without really knowing all of them, without really understanding that person on every level in addition to their soul level. So how those things can get distorted is if it gets filtered through a lens of distortion. So if you look at unconditional love as something that is a carte blanche, if you will, to just allow any type of behavior, to allow any type of experience, no matter what happens, that's where unconditional love can get distorted. It is not necessarily a codependency, so to speak. It is more a lack of boundaries. So if you are accepting all sorts of behavior in the 3D and you're calling it unconditional love, that is where you are filtering it through that distortion. What we would recommend in those situations is that you can certainly have unconditional love for someone, but then not necessarily have them in your experience in the 3D. Draw those boundaries and say, this behavior is not okay. Even though I love you fully, I cannot be in this energy right now. I cannot have this experience right now. So not only does that show unconditional love for the person, it shows unconditional love for self. And that is where that distortion can come in, is the aspect of unconditional love that is part of self starts getting left behind, where you have unconditional love for another, but you have forgotten the unconditional love for self. Both things need to exist for unconditional love. You need to have unconditional love for yourself as well as the other person in order for that love to exist. Now, we're not saying that love cannot exist without those things in general, but we're speaking of pure unconditional love. And that's not something that is easily achieved. That takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of communication. It takes a lot of vulnerability. It takes a lot of self-work. It takes a lot of shadow work on both parts. It's something to strive towards and to achieve. It's not to say that your love is less loving simply because you have not reached that true unconditional love for self. It doesn't mean that you don't love the person that you're with because you are not able to be in unconditional love. It is just a gradient of love. If you look at it from the perspective of love being on a spectrum of sorts, you can love a flower. You can love a stuffed animal. You can love a pet. You can love a parent. You can love a sibling. You can love a friend. You can love a partner, a husband, a wife. And as I name each one of those things, you can feel the difference in each one of those expressions of love. They're all different. They're all different expressions of love. But what you need to have is the assessment of where that love lies within your heart. It's easy to have unconditional love for a child, for a pet, for a flower. It's a little bit harder to have unconditional love for people who challenge you, for people who might be here to teach you lessons, for people who are here to show you you need to find your unconditional love for self first. So pay attention to where you are in the spectrum with various different people or experiences. There's nothing you need to do with that information. You just need to acknowledge it and understand where that energy of love is coming from and how it affects your day to day. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that we were able to connect today, and I'm looking forward to connecting with all of you in the next episode.
If you've been enjoying this podcast, it would mean so much if you could like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other platform. And if you feel inspired, leaving a review is always appreciated. If you're following along on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a new episode of the Akashic Recordings. Also, if you feel called to work with me personally, you can book a session at any time at infinitesoullove.com. Everything can be scheduled directly on my website. Thank you so much for your support, and I can't wait to connect with you again next week.